What is going on, guys? Corrosive Bullet here, and today we are going to be breaking down and creating our official tier list for Set 4 of Fusion World. We're going to do a decently comprehensive look into each of these decks, my explanations in terms of where I place them. These placements are all based on what I've currently seen, what I've played against in the ranked matchup on the digital client, as well as what we've been kind of seeing in terms of tournament results and reflecting on that as well. I'm assuming, if you've seen my previous video, that you might not be too surprised that some of these decks might actually shift around just a little bit, and there might be one or two surprises in terms of where I might place these decks. But without further ado, let's kind of get into it. Just as a TLDR, this is just my opinion, and this is not necessarily a comprehensive breakdown in terms of what I think is meta defining, more so in terms of just more so it's just my exposure to what I have played and what where I would kind of put everything at. This is just for fun. We always do these for fun, and in no way does this necessarily reflect what I think is actually going to place in like tournaments and stuff either. So just keep that in mind going into it. So let's kind of get into it. We're going to start with red. We're going to start with a baseline like we always kind of do. Starter Goku. Again, Starter Goku is a decent leader. Came out in set 1. He's very generic. Generic leaders are always usually better than non-generic leaders usually. The best thing about Starter Goku is the fact that you can basically take any card from any specific archetype and make it work within this deck. So like, there's a lot of Universe 6 cards that are in the meta, but a lot of those Universe 6 cards don't necessarily get a whole lot of play. You can make some of those cards work in a deck, like in a leader like Starter Goku. The bad thing about Starter Goku is that he's just not doing enough. Just being able to boost up one of your battle cards by 5,000 per turn. It's all fine. Like, it's not like a bad ability by any means, but cards like Tournament of Power, the field card in red, has seen a lot more play because of that little extra 5k. And so when you can just throw TOP into any red deck to get that 5,000k, it kind of diminishes what the leader Goku is kind of able to do. So that's more or less where I kind of see him. Not a bad option by any means. You can make him work for you, but he is just not as good as he was when the game first came out. Next up, we're going to do Top Ku. Top Ku, I think you could put in locals. He got hit, obviously, with the Set 2 ban list, and he's not doing anything too crazy right now. Tournament of Power has gotten a lot of support in the past couple sets, and you can throw those cards into Top Ku and make it work for you. However, losing access to Kefla, losing access to the double strike Rebrian, and not having like a flexible double strike option, and obviously Roshi not accelerating those plays really ended up hurting Top Ku more than it helped, and all the new support just isn't doing enough to really get him to a decent spot on this tier list. You can build Top Ku and run them at locals and have a good time with them. I still think that Top Ku is a very fun deck, just in a official capacity, in an official like tournament setting. Like, he is not in any way, I don't think he's just doing enough. Then we're going to go into U7. U7 I think is decent. There's a lot of really good Universe 7 cards in the game now for red, and like, I know like Set 3 released Draw Ku. Just being able to like boost all of your Universe 7 cards on the board by 5,000 adds a lot of extra pressure onto your opponent that you wouldn't necessarily think is a big deal, but it actually is a bit of a big deal. I think Universe 7 Goku's biggest flaw is that he just cannot facilitate the hand size or keep the hand size stacked up long enough to be able to keep himself around defensively. But that being said, I think he does a bit better than what Starter Ku's doing, and I think with a lot of the draw options and stuff, and a lot of the support that red has gotten with set 4, I think you can make Universe 7 work for you. But in terms of top placement in like tournaments and stuff, I just don't see it either. I think Top Coup probably needs like 1 or 2 more like really strong options to put him up in the strong tier. But until he gets there, he's just kind of sitting in decent. Now we're going to kind of get into the top red decks of the current format. Beerus is going to probably be he's probably going to be in the strong tier. Now, Beerus is great at just controlling the board, just being able to control your opponent's hand with the crits on his front side. When he awakens, he gets that minus 10,000 to any battle card, which can really help against certain matchups. Broly is able to easily be taken care of with this, as well as like other options that have minusing effects, and then going into like a Rumshi. He gets a little bit of extra defensive utility with the new secret rare UI Goku, which is able to prevent you from taking damage for one battle. And that goes a long way. Plus the extra minusing potential does help too. Beerus is still a strong, capable leader. His biggest issue though is that him being a crit leader hurts him in terms of draw aspect and just being able to facilitate hand, and that really can hurt him in the long run. But against some of the other red decks, I think he's able to kind of bounce back. One of the biggest things that I've seen is that Beerus does have a good handle into Jiren. He's able to control, like, make sure that those Jirens that can be played on board don't get too out of control and out of hand. And basically is playing a lot of the same stuff that like Jiren kind of is. He's just able to control that board a little bit better. Plus Jiren doesn't get draw power on his Awakened side. So while Jiren may potentially be losing cards throughout the match, Beerus is able to counteract that by building up his hand with the extra draws at the end of the match. So that does tend to help him a little bit. But he's still a strong option. Red is just a strong color in general. Bandai, for some reason, just has red's their favorite color, I guess. I don't know what else to tell you, but they really like red. Speaking of Jiren is, I think, is probably towards the bottom end of the red in top tier. Jiren got a lot of extra support this set. Having Topo be not necessarily a replacement, but an accessory to a parallel card, I guess maybe would be the right word. But the 4-cost Topo basically is a companion piece to the 4-cost Jiren. What makes that card so great is that it allows you to facilitate your hand on your terms and not be reliant on your opponent swinging into you. And that's the biggest issue with the 4-cost Jiren right now, is just that there's so many ways to remove it. Black has 2 different ways that they can remove it outright without it being an issue, and that's with the Brainwashed Goten and Pan. Then you have, Yellow. While Yellow doesn't necessarily have the greatest outs for it, it does have a good out in terms of Final Explosion. It just depends on when they play that and if they can time that correctly to do double Final Explosion on multiple Jirens on board. Very specific out for Yellow, but they can make that work. Green now has a Warm Greeting, which just completely removes him off board and ramps him. Blue has multiple outs to basically anything that Jiren throws their way. And then obviously you've got some options with, spoiler alert, Daima Goku and Beerus that are able to do this. The only reason that I would say that Jiren is still stronger than Beerus is that depending on how well you're able to facilitate and build up your board for Jiren, you can make Jiren work just a bit better for you. Because obviously if you have 2 or 3 Jirens, like if you have 2 Jirens on board before Beerus is even awake, that really does help to facilitate your hand draw if you're able to awaken early too. So, but again, like Jiren has a lot of options. Jiren got a lot of good extra support this set with some greens. 3-cost Vegeta has seen a resurgence in this deck. It is a lot better than I think people gave it credit for in set 3. Secret Rare Vegeta or Secret Rare Goku is fantastic in this deck as well. It's just Jiren is just a strong defensive deck. Then we're going to go into Daima Goku. Daima Goku, I would say, is better than Jiren. I initially had, in my previous tier list, I think I had Daima Goku in strong tier. Daima Goku is a lot better than I gave him credit for. I would say that he's just a little bit better than Jiren. Just basically, Daima Goku is a hybrid between U7 Goku, or Starter Goku, and Beerus. Basically the love child of these two decks. He's able to boost up one of your cards in battle by 5,000, which can facilitate stuff like like the Draw Coup from set 3. He's able to boost up like any other like 25k leaders or 20k leaders to 25k to facilitate other minusing effects like with the 4-cost Shin. That's able to minus, I think, 5,000 with like every time you swing with a 25k or more powerful card. But he's also minusing something by 5. We've seen that just having that extra 5,000 power with like Tournament of Power, the Tournament of Power field card, can go so far in terms of defensive potential, and the -5 from the Goku leader does the exact same thing. It just in the opposite fashion. And what's nice is that with that effect is the fact that stuff like Jiren can be handled just as efficiently as Beerus if you're able to build your deck around that minusing aspect. So I would say that Daima Goku is definitely better than I gave him credit for. And we might readjust this once we start putting some of the other leaders from other colors into the set too, but we'll just kind of go from there. And then to wrap it all up for red, UI Goku. UI Goku, I think, is still... I think I accurately put him in my last tier list. He's definitely a strong contender. The problem with UI Goku is that you need to play heavily defensive on leader swing as best as you possibly can in order to be able to get to where you want to be in terms of your board situation. Stuff that you run in the deck like Gohan and Kefla and stuff like that, you cannot afford to protect those, because you need to keep your hand size full for when you do awaken. Because he's the only leader in the game, which is a very odd choice, but he cannot draw. He doesn't draw when he awakens, and he loses his draw on his awakened side as well. So you're already losing an extra card that you would have normally had from a normal awakening, but he even loses that too. Once you awaken with UI Goku, it becomes extremely hard to maintain and facilitate your hand. Eventually, you will run out of steam. So the best way that I've seen UI play, or the best way to play UI from what I have seen, is to keep your leader awakened as long as possible to facilitate the draw on his front side, and you want to try and get to 6 energy before you awaken, so that way you can play your secret rares for protection, that you can play your Friezas, play your 5-cost Friezas, and use that leader awakening ability to protect yourself on defense. Now, that's not to say that he's not a bad leader by any means. Like, offensively, he gives so much pressure to your opponent. Just being able to copy any power level from any card on the board is really strong offensively, especially with like Secret Rare and the new Frieza. Just being able to swing, get an extra 40 to 45,000 power swing off of your leader effect is crazy strong. So that's not to be underestimated. But again, because it becomes so hard for this leader to facilitate his hand into the late game, I can't say that he's better than some of these other red leaders. Just because a good player will know not to necessarily push the leader for awakening and just control the board as best as possible is usually the way to kind of get around the UI Goku. If you can play around board to make sure that his strong bodies on his board aren't staying around, it really does slow UI Goku down a lot. So, but that's red. So let's jump into blue. I'm not going to talk long about this guy. Daima Vegeta. He's in his own tier list. This guy just does not have enough support. There's a decent number of cost minusing cards in the game. The problem with Daima Vegeta is the fact that you have to pay 1 energy in order to bottom deck a 1 cost. The amount of times that I have seen players like not be able to use that ability because of cards that they have to prioritize to play. Like the ability is just pointless. It's useless right now. He really, and that's not to say that if he got more support that he can't be better, but it's just the fact that he needs more cost minusing support, or at least something that allows him to utilize the ability for free on occasion, depending on a card that you play. Something that can kind of facilitate that extra bottom deck option without necessarily playing out of curve, right? So it's just really hard for this Vegeta. If this leader ability allowed you to at least minus something by 1, as well as bottom decking it at a 1 cost, like I think it would be a little bit better if it had a minusing option built into it instead of just only bottom decking. But because it doesn't do that, it really hurts him. So let's do Gohan next. Gohan, I've seen some decks with Gohan. I think Gohan has potential. The problem that I have with Gohan is the fact that all of his extra cards cost a lot. Even when you use his leader ability to minus the cost by 2, you're still discarding a card from hand to facilitate that. And all of his extra cards that you want to run in the deck are like 5 cost. I feel like if they were 4 cost or maybe even 3 cost, like Galactic Donuts is, I feel like it would be a little bit better. But the fact that you need to have a certain number of energy in order to really make that ability worthwhile, I think slows the deck down just a little bit too much. I'll definitely say that he's probably better than Starter Coup, just because obviously Blue has a really good out to red, but I think Gohan just needs a lot of extra support in order to really stand out and help him. Once he gets that, I'm sure that he'll be a lot better. But as of right now, as it stands, I think he's better than what I expected him to be. But he's tricky. He's just a tricky leader to interact with, in terms of the user anyway. Trunks, I'm going to probably put at bottom of decent. Trunks still has a great ability of being able to bounce 3 costs, whether it's on your side of the field or your opponent's side of the field, and there's a lot more utility that came out for Trunks that's able to kind of help him kind of stand out as a leader. But the problem still stems from the fact that bottom decking is just so much better than bouncing something from hand. And so when I play Trunks, I tend to utilize the bouncing effect on my board more than my opponent's board, because I don't necessarily want to give my opponent combo power back. And just in terms of like what he's doing compared to other blue leaders are just doing it better at this point. He was great set 1, or he was decent set 1, and blue got a little bit better with set 2, but now we're in set 4, and there's other deck leaders that have come out that are just doing things that are better with the support that they got versus the support that he got. So I'd say he's still decent. He's still fun deck to play. I still love playing Trunks. It's just he does not stand out compared to other blue leaders. Speaking of other blue leaders, we're going to do Zamasu. I think Zamasu is a strong deck. I think that the fact that like if Jiren is the defensive leader of red, Zamasu is the defensive leader of blue. He got a lot of extra support going into this set. He got the 3-cost Gotenks that can play out a Trunks and Goten onto the board in rest mode. The double draw combo for that with the 2-cost Goten and the cantrip Trunks helps to really facilitate his hand in the late game, which is something that he loses out on when he awakens. He doesn't draw on swing. So cards like that help get him a long way. The cantrip Marin that's able to scry your deck is a great utility option to find a card that you may necessarily need. If it's not something you need, you bottom deck it, and then you just draw the top card anyway. That's a great option for it as well. Obviously, Videl is good because it's able to recur stuff from your drop. Zamasu, or not Zamasu, not Zamasu. I can't think of. I'm blanking on the name. I'm blocking up. Pilaf. Pilaf is still as strong as ever. And even like the new secret rare, for blue, the Vegito, the 6-cost Vegito, is a really good endgame card for Zamasu, because usually with the builds for Zamasu, you're building around the mid game to just draw you in general cases. Like you're playing the board to work in your favor to keep you alive, and then you're basically on your 5 energy, 6 energy, 7 energy, 8 energy. You're playing a lot of your big bodies to like really go into your opponent when possible. And then all the recursion with like peel off and stuff like that really helps him too, because considering that you're going to want to stay unawakened as long as you possibly can, and you're usually defending, you're going to be comboing stuff into your leader to swing into your awakened opponent as well. So Zamasu's just really strong. He has a lot of draw advantage now that he's got some support with like Gotenks and stuff like that. I just think there's once again there's just better blue leaders out there than what Zamasu's doing, but he is still a strong option now. Goku Black, once again, just like in the last video, top of flex tier. He's got his high highs and his low lows. If you're able to find your pieces, and find your curve, he is probably one of the better blue leaders in the format. If you aren't able to find your pieces, then he can just flounder really quickly. I saw a game the other day. I watched my buddy Alice Bear, David from the podcast. I watched him play a match into Goku Black, and Goku Black was able to find all 4 of his 6-cost Zamasu or Goku Blacks, and it was just too much for him to be able to handle. So yeah, like if Goku Black's able to high roll, he's able to do some stuff, but if he can't, then he kind of flounders. Again, he's a really strong flex option, and it really comes down to RNG. He's a very RNG oriented deck, and if you're able to do what you need, find what you need to find, he can get you far, but that also means that he's not as reliable as some of these other blue leaders. So then we're going to do Vegeta. Vegeta is still one of the strongest contenders in blue right now, I think. I'm not going to put him at the top of blue like I did before. I think that's officially been replaced, and you'll see when we get to it. But he's just a really good generic leader. Again, keeping at 7 cards in hand and being able to boost yourself up to 35,000 power is a lot of extra pressure. He still has the 1-cost Bulma that's able to boost him up by another 10,000, which is a great card for him. Blue just has really strong options now, and they have a really good late game at this point now too. So just everything that came out in set 6 for blue does a lot more for Vegeta, and it helps to facilitate what Vegeta's trying to do, which is heavy, hard aggression at the cost of lower hand size. He's a very aggressive deck at this point. Still one of the best in the format, easily. Then we got Halo Ku. He's definitely probably, I would maybe, I think I would actually say this maybe. We'll revisit this just to kind of see if I agree with this. I think Halo Ku is actually like better than Vegeta in a lot of ways. Being able to, on an awakened side, just being able to draw 2 and then place 1 back on top of your deck really helps to get through your deck and find your pieces at a much more consistent rate. And then the fact that he can just rest a card on your battlefield to get 10,000 power, which basically gives him like a free 10,000 combo on defense, is fantastic. And then you couple this with the fact that, you know, Satan City got a lot of extra support. Satan City feels like an actual deck now. The Great Saiyaman, the new 1-cost Videl that can play the 2-cost for free while keeping that combo power is fantastic. The Great Saiyaman 2 being able to play the vanilla Great Saiyaman 1 from your drop. Not only that combo not only helps to keep you alive longer by comboing the vanillas, but it allows you to get some extra aggression by having a 20k and a 30k on board at one time. I don't think that, some people say that slows the deck down. I disagree. I think that if you're able to push a couple of those Great Saiyaman 2s out onto the board, like there's not much your opponent can really do. to like make sure your board stays clear. So, and then obviously like the Vegito and stuff still helps in the end game. So, yeah, Halo Ku is just very consistent, a much more consistent deck, and he doesn't and outside of using his ability to get 10,000 power from your board, or 10,000 combo power on defense from your board, he's just better. I think he's just better than he doesn't necessarily rely on the 7 cards or less at all times, which the Vegeta does need to kind of rely on that every single turn to be functional. So yeah, I think Halo Ku's great. Then we're gonna get into green. Androids is still top green deck. That's not all that surprising to say. I think Halo Ku, with as aggressive as it's able to be, has the potential to actually like outbest androids, and I think Vegeta can too as well. But I think Halo Ku has a much easier time of being able to do that than most. They're still just really good. Ramp Droids is, in my opinion, Ramp Droids is the most broken card in the game. Other people might say Brainwash Trunks is probably more broken, but just being able to play Ramp Droids back to back on a single turn when you're at like 5 energy is just crazy. You're playing them for 1, you're getting 3 active energy back by using them. It's so overpowered, in my opinion, and it's overtuned. I still think that Ramp Droids needs to be limited to in some capacity, as well as like probably Brainwash, probably on top of Brainwash Trunks and Peel Off and stuff. But yeah, it's just still a strong deck to this day. Hopefully, going into set 5, it doesn't get more support to keep it on top, and hopefully we get a green deck that's able to outpace this and be a little bit give us a bit more variety in terms of green right now, because green does not feel like it's changed much in terms of where I would place some of these leaders. Broly, I would say, is still strong, but Broly is decent. But the problem with Broly is that red is just outpacing Broly in every single matchup. Stuff like Sphere is able to completely burn him down lower than he necessarily wants to be. Jiren has another burn option in the 6-cost Jiren, which is also a really good if potentially niche card as well. Burn just really hurts Broly in this current matchup. Same goes with like Blue. Blue now has like a lot of outs to like 8-cost Broly too, with like the 6-cost Vegito. So it's, and then in terms of like support, Broly didn't really get much support. He got a 5-cost Tierlist that boosts him up by 10,000 power, which can be good if you're building it more mid-rangey, but I've not really seen too many people utilizing that card or facilitating with that card, or even building Broly in a mid-range style, even though you could probably make it work. Broly is just not the powerhouse that he was in set 1 anymore. He's not. Gohan, I would also say, is in the same position. I think you could still make Gohan work for you. Again, green got a lot of really good support going into this. The field card for Vegeta that came out with this set, if you want to build a mid-range deck with the Gohan, I think that works pretty decently. But again, it's just a matter of like Gohan doesn't really have like a whole lot of great support that he got this set. He's got enough to kind of, he has a means of being able to play in a different capacity than he did in set 1 and 2. But he, again, there's just no support. Like none of these green decks are doing what the Android deck is doing. Just not at all. So, yeah, they're just not doing the same. Cell, I think, is at the bottom of strong. Cell is basically doing the exact same thing that Androids is doing, but just at a much slower rate. Utilizing the Cell Games Arena field card, potentially playing that out early, but it's also a different play style too. You're more heavily reliant on your SR cells, and like maybe even like your 50,000 power cell to ramp troublesome boards off your opponent's side. You're more reliant on the cell than you are the Broly, but you can make the Broly work with this deck. It's just, again, like Cell, I think is decent. I think you could have a lot of fun with Cell, and I think it's still one of the stronger contenders in the format. But Droids is just doing everything Cell's doing, but better. So there's really not much to talk about with Cell. Piccolo, I would say he is probably on the I would say he's probably on the stronger end. I'm curious to see. We've seen what some of the set 5 like extra cards are, where if your opponent's at, or if your life is at 2 or less, like you get extra draw effects, you get extra life extension in set 5. So I'm wondering how well some of those extra cards will actually help Piccolo in this format. But Piccolo, I think, is a decent flex option. I think the biggest issue with Piccolo is just the fact that he needs to be at 8 energy to do the things that he wants to do. And because of that, I think that actually hurts him more than it helps him. Just due to the fact that all of the cards that you want to run with Piccolo also need to be at 8 costs or more. Like the... what is it? The secret rare Gohan needs to be at 8 energy in order to give 20,000 extra power, or however much it is. The Piccolo SR, I think, also needs him to be at 8 energy as well in order to be able to use his effect. There's just a lot of restrictions around Piccolo, and I think that hurts him more than it helps him. However, it's one of those things where if you're able to build him up fast enough, if you're having a really good game and your opponent's not having having an amazing game on his end, you can make Piccolo work for you, and he can be pretty scary in places. Again, it all comes down to RNG, and it all comes down to what if your opponent is able to find the stuff that they need. But Piccolo, I think, he's a fun deck to play with. He's just not competing with some of in the majority of cases, he's not competing with some of these top decks here. He still needs some more support. He needs more help, but maybe in set 5, we can see him actually step up. We'll just have to see. And then lastly, we got Vegeta. I think Vegeta is decent. His leader ability has a lot of cool utility to it, and it's not doing anything insane. But being able to just play something for free at a 3 cost or less, I think is really cool. Having the field on board and just being able to ramp yourself up and down and keep yourself at around 5 energy throughout the whole game is really cool and fun tech. He almost feels, in a lot of ways, he feels like Blue. You kind of have to be a little big-brained with Vegeta to really maximize his potential. I would probably say that Broly's probably, or I'd say Vegeta's probably better than Broly. Yeah, I'd probably go with this. And that Double Striker is just a really, really good card. The biggest issue that I've seen with Vegeta is the fact that because the meta currently utilizes a lot of 6-cost cards, Vegeta doesn't really have a good out to most of the 6 costs in the game. I think if he got an extra card that allowed him to remove something at a higher cost, I think that would actually help him go a long way. I've seen some people utilizing Special Beam Cannon for just in case of emergency buttons, since Special Beam Cannon is able to remove any card that you pick. So I think there's some tech you could do with Vegeta, but I think Vegeta just needs some better removal in the game to kind of help him with the way the current meta is kind of going with all these 6 costs. So, but Vegeta's fun. He's a lot of fun. I like the low end play style of what Vegeta's doing, and I hope that Green gets some more stuff like this, because it does kind of him being in the game as a breath of fresh air in my eyes. All right, now we're gonna get into yellow. Holy crap, we're already 35 minutes into this video. All right, so we're getting into yellow. I'm putting Cooler. I'm going to put Cooler in the middle of Flex. I've been seeing some videos. I've been seeing some gameplay of people playing Cooler. And while I don't think he's anywhere close to being a decent deck or something that you could actually take to tournaments and regionals and stuff, I think he's playable now. I think you could make this guy work in your favor. Having the 3-cost cooler that basically draws you a card every time that you use the leader ability to restand a card is really strong. Because it basically ends up netting you 0 when you use the leader effective cooler, which I think is really cool tech. Having that card as well, having that card on board as well when you go to play the Meta Cooler Core card allows you to actually utilize the swing, the 30k swing from the core in a more efficient manner than what you were able to before. And it's great tech too, because then you can take some meta coolers that you might have in your hand, maybe even some of the blocker ones, to just discard that into your discard. You reset the core to go back to active. You activate the ability to bring those meta coolers out onto the board. And if your opponent's just not able to take care of your board, like you completely sweep, in your opponent. Now I think Cooler has the exact same issue that Ginyu has, in the sense that if you're going up against a 25k leader, I think it's a little bit harder for Cooler to kind of get over top of a 25k leader. But I think he's not, obviously he's not in his own tier anymore. I think he's usable now. I don't even know if I would even say he's a flex option, probably. I would maybe say he's high-end locals, maybe. We'll revisit him. We'll come back and we'll revisit him and see if he needs to be moved again. But then we got Frieza. Frieza, I think Frieza's down in flex. I think in the last video I had him up here in decent. I think he's down in flex now. Frieza just seems to lack a bit of an identity. His ability is not nearly as strong as it used to be when it first came out. Just resetting 2 cards on your board to active doesn't really do a whole lot for you, especially since like you're running like barrier boos and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just he lacks identity. He doesn't really have like a specific like gameplay loop that you want to necessarily run with him, and I think that hurts Frieza more than anything else. Plus, I mean, obviously, like Red's in a really good spot right now. Blue is a much better counter to Yellow than it was in the past. Androids is still running rampant, but Frieza could probably make it work against Androids. And Black is still like a strong powerhouse too. So it's just, there's better Yellow decks than what Frieza's doing. I hope that Frieza gets some support going into next set, which we did see with, there's a new Frieza card in the Janemba package. Maybe that's going to be good. We'll just have to wait and see. But I would say he's a flex option. You could probably make him work, and he could vary on this particular list, but he needs an identity to kind of make him stand out compared to everything else. Ginyu, I've seen some crazy stuff with Ginyu. I'd say he's a high flex. I'd say he's a high flex option. Maybe bottom end of field here, or decent here. The field card that came in set 4 for Frieza Force or Frieza Clan, I forget what it is, but just being able to utilize that card to basically play out, being able to use that card to play out the 2-cost SR Ginyu that restands 2 energy, as opposed to always playing him off of the Raccoon, adds so much range to what the Ginyu deck is actually like trying to do. It means that you can play a lot more of your actual Ginyu cards and not feel necessarily locked down to one particular strat. So you can play like a birder off of the Ginyu or off of the Raccoon card. You can play the other Ginyu, the Searcher Ginyu for, I think it's an extra card. Is it an extra card, or is it a Ginyu Force card? It might be a Ginyu Force card. I haven't used that card in forever, so you can correct me in the comments below. But just being able to play something off of that Raccoon that's not the energy restander Ginyu, and just being able to play, switching that card to rest and playing the SR Ginyu It's just much better tech and makes it a bit more efficient. Now, we did see in set 5 that Ginyu is going to get... there's a bunch of Ginyu Force cards in the Janemba package. So there is a potential... There's a possibility that Ginyu could just shoot all the way up to like a strong tier, depending on what those Ginyu Force cards do. But I think for what it's worth and where it's at, I think Ginyu is still, like, he's always been the ultimate flex option, where if you underestimate Ginyu, you could get trounced. But if they don't see their plays, they're not going to be as impactful. So I'm going to put Fat Boo up in decent. I would probably put Fat Boo... where would I put Fat Boo? Probably here. He might be a little bit harder to place on here. I haven't really had much exposure to Boo since the new support. This Boo is a lot better with the new Majin Buu support though. Just being able to have that hand destruction ability of the SR Boo is really good. Having a more reliable, aggressive double striker that you can play. Having cards that are able to do multiple swings off destroying your own cards. Like, he now has like a purpose. Like, you have your Wicked Soul cards that you play off as ability. As some, like, for defense, you play your cantrips, you play your searchers, you play your Babidis. You play your Babidis on board. You play blockers to, play defensive and, not necessarily be so reliant on your hand to combo out and protect yourself, while also playing stuff on your turn with the energy that you have to play more aggressive. And I think that gives him a bit more of an identity than he had in set 3, which really didn't put him too far. The new Boo stuff is just a lot better for this guy because of it. Now, that being said, though, this Boo is ridiculous. This Boo is insane. Just being able to get so many swings off. Like, ideally, depending on how you play it, you can play on turn 5, you can play your double striker into the Babidi, into the buff Boo to get, and then if you've seen my videos, I use the body change card from set 1 for the 30,000 power like buff Boo card to get 3 swings off with that guy. So with lead and 3 swings and potentially 3 swings with the buff Boo and a double striker swing, like that's 5. That's 1. You can get up to 6 swings on turn 5, which I think is insane. Like, it's, and then obviously you got all the hand destruction. You have your own self drawing from activating those skills. Boo is just really, really strong. And he's definitely the leader that I think Yellow desperately needed. Now, that's not to say that this fixes the Yellow issue as a whole. I think Yellow still needs to be a bit better. Yellow needs some hard removal that's not reliant on Final Explosion. Final Explosion's a good card, but they need better options to remove stuff on board. Because in terms of like hard removal, the only thing that Yellow kind of has is Final Explosion, and then and then Secret Rare Frieza is like the only options for like hard removal of stuff outside of just battle. So Yellow needs more, but Boo is a standout leader. Where I would put him in the top tier, it's a little hard to say. Probably... Would I put him at the bottom of... He can have a hard time into Jiren. I'll leave him here for now. He can have a hard time into Jiren. Just because he doesn't have an efficient way of removing those 4-cost Jirens. And if the secret rare goes out, like, forget about it. So it is hard, but he can sometimes be better than Jiren. But I'm going to put him down here just for the sake of fairness. And then last but not least, we got this Yellow Vegeta. He's still really strong. He's still very good. You got some extra support this set. The only downside is that locking down your opponent's field. While it is better than it was in set 3, it's a lot more efficient to use. And especially if more efficient to use in this guy, freezing doesn't solve the issue in the sense that if your stuff gets removed off board, then you lose that freezing element and your opponent's just going to floor you with their board. So I think I would only put him at strong because the freezing aspect of yellow is not as good as I think it, as well as it's not as good as like hand destruction and Boo, for example. It's just a better mechanic, I think, for yellow. But I would put him here in strong. Where would I put him? Would I put him above UI Goku? Probably not. I'll put him here for now. I think he's fine where he's at. Still a strong leader, just being able to get the energy back to utilize like extra cards to protect yourself or your board is just really good. The 5-cost Vegeta that freezes 2 cards down is really strong, especially if you can get multiples of them on board. But it's also a matter of like he's a little bit big brained in the sense that you have to like be thinking like a step or two ahead in order to synergize your energy usage, your energy consumption. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, now we get into black. Bardock, I think, is at the bottom of strong tier. I think Bardock is on his way out of like one of the better black decks in the format. He got no support this set. The only support that you really got is like the 4-cost baby that he's able to, and like maybe the Goten, the Brainwash Goten for removal. But outside of that, like he got no like good. He doesn't get archetype specific support, and I think that probably hurts him more than it helps him. He's still really strong. The scrying potential that this guy has to help you facilitate your hand in future turns is really fun and thematic for what he's trying to do. Being the 25k attacking leader is also good into like 25k leaders. But I mean, he's not doing anything differently than from what he's kind of currently been doing. So he's kind of going down there. Hopefully in set 5 he gets a bit more support because I love this leader. I love being able to play this deck, but like just I've gone to other stuff because there's just better black decks than what he's doing. Now we got Super Saiyan 4 Goku. I would say Super Saiyan 4 Goku is really good right now. He got a lot of support. He basically got a margarita in the new pan. He's got another double strike option that has combo power on the off chance that you're not using him to double strike right off the bat, which I think is really good. He's also using the Grade 8 baby on occasion as well. The 4-cost Goten. Super Saiyan 4 Goku just got a lot of extra options that makes him a bit better and more consistent, and it gives his leader ability more value than what it had before. You're still, for the most part, utilizing the secret rare strat with this deck, but the little bit of extra support that he's gotten, especially with the 2-cost Trunks, that's just able to protect your board, your whole board state, when you have them energy marker up, is fantastic. You have that guy on board while your marker is up, and your opponent's just not going to be able to remove your board or do anything about it. So, really good card, really good deck, all things considered. Then we come to Baby, and I am still of the mindset. That Baby is not broken, that he is not as strong as he's not as strong as Top Ku was when Top Ku first came out in set 2. However, he is the best deck, I think, in my opinion. There's two different ways and methods you can build this guy. You can build the full aggro package, which if you build the full aggro package, he's very similar to like Goku Black in the sense that like he has a very high ceiling, but if you were not able to see your plays, like you flounder really hard. So that's like the big thing with the aggro package in itself. I've tried the aggro package. I like the aggro package. The aggro package has not worked for me as of late because it is so hard to find my real dough pieces for whatever reason. It is the most generic and consistent way to build the deck, and for some reason I can just never find my aggro pieces. But that being said, when his aggro, again, with the ceiling that he has, if you can find your top end stuff, oh my god, is he a menace, because he's just getting swing after swing after swing after swing after swing, and like your best bet in going after him is is to just not attack leader, because if you let him awaken and he has like his brainwashed and machine mutant stuff on board, like there's no reason to go after his board, because he'll just combo everything off and protect himself, and then he's playing stuff for free. It's crazy. Now the other way you could build him too is obviously with the mid-range package, which is basically a lot of the generic black stuff, like the secret rare, the 2-cost trunks that protects your board, some Bardocs if you wanted to throw some Bardocs in there, some Para Brothers and Hercules to for getting stuff back from drop or freezing something troublesome on board down. But then you're also running the Brainwash package, and the Brainwash package is actually really good. With the amount of with the mid-range build, which is the build that I've kind of converted over to, the mid-range build is just so strong in the sense that you're constantly drawing cards. The draw potential is like it never ends for the most part. You got secret rare that's drawing you cards. You have the 3-cost baby into the 2-cost brainwashed Gohan that's able to basically double draw cards back into your hand when you combo the Gohan into the baby, basically netting you 0 just from playing those 2 cards out, which is crazy. The 2-cost brainwash Trunks is an insane card that probably needs to be limited because of how strong it is, or errated at the very least. Just being able to get 2 cards back from your drop that are brainwashed or machine mutant, it's really strong. Plus he's a 20k swinger, so like you can just swing and then combo him off for extra pressure. It's insane. The baby deck, no matter which way you build it, is a really strong deck. Now again, I don't think that he is top coup level when top coup first came out. I know a lot of people say he is, and I know a lot of people want a lot of the stuff in the baby deck to be nerfed or limited or banned in some capacity. I don't think we're there yet. Is it annoying to deal with? Absolutely, it can be. But baby is just that good of a deck. He got a lot of support that was able to help him just right out the gate. He really doesn't need... I know we're getting a new Brainwashed Bulma next set, and I know a lot of people are dreading that because it's another Self-Awakener. It's just another Self-Awakener, which is just insane for baby, just being able to kind of help him and make him more consistent. But that's why he's so strong. It's just that he got so many options right out the gate that he doesn't need further support. So the fact that he's getting further support tells me that after next set, he's probably going to be on the back burner in terms of support because he really doesn't need it. He's just that good and that consistent of a deck. But I think that's neither here nor there. Is there anything else I'd change on this? I think we'll leave it there. I think I will leave it there. I don't think there's anything else I really need to change on this at this point. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you think this list is semi-accurate? Do you think there's something that needs to be changed based off of your own experiences? Again, this whole video is just it's just my opinion. It's based off of my experiences with the decks. I could be underrepresenting or overestimating some of these decks to an extent. So I want to be involved in the conversation. Let me know down in the comments what you guys actually think, and we can have a discussion and kind of go from there. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for the love and support. As always, you guys are awesome. We are on our way to 300 subscribers. We're slowly getting there. So if you like the content, please subscribe to the channel. If you like this content, if you like this video, please hit that like button. It helps boost the channel up. Yeah, we'll see you guys in the next Fusion World video. Peace.